Dr. Sarah Chun looked out the observation window of Mercy General Hospital Station and smiled. The massive medical facility floated peacefully above Earth's moon, its white walls marked with bright red crosses that every species in the galaxy recognized. Those symbols meant safety, healing, and hope for anyone who needed help. Sarah had worked here for 15 years. She had saved lives from dozens of different alien species. The hospital treated everyone the same. It did not matter if you were human or if your people were at war with humans. If you were hurt and needed help, Mercy General would take care of you. Today felt like any other day. The hospital was busy with patients from across the local star systems. In the main medical bay, human doctors worked alongside alien healers to treat wounded soldiers, sick children, and injured workers from mining stations. The hospital's universal translator made it easy for everyone to communicate and work together. Dr. Chun, we have incoming ships requesting emergency docking, called out Nurse Martinez from the communication station. They're Kithran vessels. They say they have wounded soldiers who need immediate treatment. Sarah nodded. The Kithrans were an insect-like species known for their military strength. Their society was organized like an ant colony, with strict rules and total obedience to their leaders. They rarely asked for help from other species, so their request was unusual. How many wounded? Sarah asked. They say they have 20 soldiers who need urgent care, Martinez replied. They're requesting permission to dock at Bay 7. Granted. Prepare the trauma units and get Dr. Patel's team ready. Make sure we have the special medical equipment for Kithran physiology. Sarah watched through the window as 3 dark Kithran warships approached the hospital. The ships looked dangerous even when they were peaceful. Their black metal hulls had sharp edges, and weapon ports were visible along their sides. But weapons were not allowed to be active near the hospital station. It was a rule that every species followed. The Kithran ships docked smoothly. Soon, a group of Kithran soldiers marched through the hospital corridors. They wore their traditional dark armor and moved in perfect formation. Their leader was a large warrior named Commander Zikthak. His forearms moved constantly as he spoke, which was normal for his species when they were excited or stressed. Human doctor, Zikthak said in his clicking voice. We bring wounded warriors who require your medical assistance. Our own healers cannot treat their injuries. Sarah bowed slightly, showing respect. Commander, we are honored to help. Our medical teams are ready. Please bring your wounded to the trauma units. But something felt wrong. Sarah noticed that the Kithran soldiers were not carrying any wounded comrades. They also seemed too alert and ready for combat. Their eyes moved constantly, watching every human and alien in the hospital corridors. The first sign of trouble came when Sarah led the Kithrans to the main medical bay. Instead of bringing in wounded soldiers, more Kithran warriors entered the hospital. They spread out quickly and took positions near all the exits. Commander, Sarah said carefully, where are your wounded soldiers? Zikthak's large compound eyes focused on her. His mandibles clicked together, and what Sarah had learned was either laughter or anger. Dr. Chun, there are no wounded soldiers. We are here for a different purpose. Sarah's blood turned cold. What do you mean? We are here to send a message to your species and all others in this galaxy. You humans have been spreading your weakness like a disease. You treat your enemies the same as your friends. You show mercy to those who would kill you. This must stop. Around the medical bay, other Kithran soldiers began pulling weapons from hidden places in their armor. The weapons were small plasma guns, designed to kill quickly and quietly. This is a medical facility, Sarah shouted. You cannot bring weapons here. This place is neutral. There is no neutrality in war, Zikthak replied. Your so-called mercy makes the galaxy weak. Today, we will show everyone what happens to those who help our enemies. The attack began without warning. Kithran soldiers opened fire on patients and medical staff. Screams filled the air as plasma bolts struck down doctors, nurses, and wounded beings who could not defend themselves. Sarah ran toward a group of children in the pediatric ward. Among them was a small Zephyrian child named Kayla, who had been brought to the hospital just days before with a rare blood disease. The child's blue skin had a sickly gray color, and she was too weak to run. "Everyone get down," Sarah yelled as she threw herself over the alien child. Around her, the massacre continued. She could hear Dr. Patel screaming as he tried to protect his patients. She could hear Nurse Martinez calling for help on the emergency channels. Zikfek's voice boomed through the hospital's communication system. "Let all who hear this understand, we are the Kithran hegemony. We will not allow your human weakness to contaminate our galaxy any longer. This hospital treated our enemies alongside our allies. This made it our enemy too." Sarah held the Zephyrian child close as plasma fire erupted around them. She could smell burning metal and worse things. The hospital, that had been a place of healing, was now a place of horror. "Today we make an example," Zikthak continued his broadcast. "Any species that follows the human way, any government that shows mercy to their enemies, any medical facility that treats all beings equally, they will share this fate." The attack lasted for 2 hours. When it was over, most of the hospital's staff and patients were dead. The Kithrans had recorded everything, sending the horrible videos across the galaxy as proof of their power and their message. As Sarah lay dying, still protecting the Zephyrian child, she managed to activate her personal communicator one last time. Her final transmission was sent directly to Earth Defense Command. "This is Dr. Sarah Chun, Chief Medical Officer of Mercy General Hospital Station," she whispered, her voice weak but clear. "We've been attacked by Kithran forces. They murdered patients and medical staff. They said our compassion was weakness. They said..." Her voice faded as plasma fire consumed the medical bay. The transmission ended, but not before Sarah's last words reached Earth. "They don't understand what they've just done." The galaxy would soon learn what those words meant. The news of Mercy General Hospital's destruction reached Earth within 3 hours. Every major news network across human space broadcast the horrible videos that the Kithrans had sent to the galaxy. People watched in shock as they saw their doctors and nurses murdered while trying to protect alien patients. But what surprised everyone was how quiet everything became in the great cities of Earth. People stopped what they were doing and went home. In the space colonies around Jupiter and Mars, workers left their jobs early. Across all of human space, a strange calm settled over everything. The United Earth Defense Council called an emergency meeting. President Lisa Warren sat at the head of a long table surrounded by military leaders, diplomats, and advisors. The room was completely silent as they watched Dr. Sarah Chun's final transmission for the 5th time. "How many people did we lose?" President Warren asked quietly. General Hayes, the head of military intelligence, looked at his tablet. 237 humans dead. 412 aliens from 23 different species also killed. Most were patients who could not defend themselves. Some were children. And the Kithrans broadcast this to the entire galaxy? Yes, ma'am. They wanted everyone to see it. They called it a lesson about the cost of showing mercy to enemies. President Warren was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different. It was the voice she used when making the hardest decisions. "General Hayes, I need you to contact Admiral Elena Vasquez immediately. Tell her to return to Earth with the entire Soul Defense Fleet." "Ma'am, that will leave all our outer colonies undefended. Do it." Ambassador Marcus Webb, Earth's representative to the Galactic Assembly. received his orders while he was still traveling to the emergency session on Centauri Prime. The message was simple: inform the galaxy what has happened. Make our position clear. Then come home. When Ambassador Webb arrived at the great meeting hall of the Galactic Assembly, representatives from hundreds of species were already talking loudly. The Andromedan delegates were calling for economic sanctions against the Kitharans. The peaceful Zephyrians were demanding justice for their murdered child. Everyone was angry and upset, but when Ambassador Webb stood up to speak, the hall became quiet. Something about the way he moved made everyone pay attention. He walked to the center of the room with slow, careful steps. His face showed no emotion at all. "Fellow delegates," Webb began, his voice calm and steady. "Yesterday, the Kitharan hegemony attacked a medical facility. They murdered healers who were treating patients. They executed wounded soldiers and sick children. They recorded these murders and sent them across the galaxy as a threat to anyone who shows mercy." The Andromedan representative stood up. "Ambassador Webb, we understand your anger. The Andromedan Alliance offers its deepest sympathy. We believe economic sanctions and diplomatic pressure will force the Kitharans to know." The single word cut through the hall like a knife. Webb's voice was still calm, but something in it made everyone stop talking. The Kitharan hegemony has crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. They have attacked a medical facility flying the Red Cross. They have murdered healers. They have made war against the wounded and innocent. Ambassador Webb paused and looked around the room. "For 300 years, humanity has followed your rules of war. We have fought limited conflicts. We have shown restraint. We have tried to be civilized members of this galactic community. The Kitharans have just taught us that civilization is not universal. They have shown us that mercy is seen as weakness. They have proven that some species only understand one language." Webb turned toward the Kitharan representative, a tall warrior named Sub-Commander Veltar. "Tell your leaders that humanity's response will be appropriate. You threaten us, human?" Veltar clicked angrily. "The hegemony controls 40 star systems. We have the largest military fleet in this sector. Your pathetic soul defense force cannot match our power." Webb smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Sub-Commander, I think you misunderstand the situation. We are not threatening you. Threats are what you give to someone when you want them to change their behavior. We are past that point." The hall erupted in confused conversations. The Andromedan representative tried to speak again. "Surely we can find a peaceful solution." "No," Webb said again. "The time for peaceful solutions ended when the first doctor was murdered. When the first patient was executed. When the first child died." Webb walked toward the exit of the Great Hall. Before he left, he turned back one more time. The Galactic Assembly may continue its discussions about sanctions and diplomatic pressure. Humanity will no longer participate in these conversations. We have other priorities now. As Webb left the hall, his final words echoed in the silence. "Tell your families to stay away from Kitharan space. What is coming will not be safe for bystanders." Back on Earth, Admiral Elena Vasquez received a communication that had not been sent for over 200 years. The message came directly from President Warren and was marked with codes that most people had forgotten existed. "Admiral Vasquez," the president's voice was steady. "You are hereby authorized to activate Total War Protocol Omega. All restrictions on weapons and tactics are removed. All rules of engagement are suspended. You have complete authority to use any means necessary to respond to this attack." Admiral Vasquez stared at the message for a long time. Protocol Omega had been created during humanity's early space exploration, when they feared they might encounter hostile aliens who could threaten Earth itself. It had never been used. "Ma'am," her aide said carefully, "what should I tell the fleet commanders?" Vasquez looked out at the massive ships of the Sol Defense Fleet gathering around. Earth. These were the ships that other species knew about. The ones humanity used for normal military operations. Tell them to stand down and return to port, she said. We will not be needing them for this mission, ma'am. Contact the Titan shipyards in the Ur-Cloud. Tell them to wake up the Stellar Engineering Corps. It is time to bring out the ships that the galaxy has never seen. Her aide looked confused. The Stellar Engineering Corps, ma'am. I do not have any files on that unit. Admiral Vasquez smiled the same way Ambassador Webb had smiled in the Galactic Assembly. You will soon understand, Lieutenant. Send a message to all human colonies and trading posts. All personnel ought to return to human space immediately. Any humans working for alien governments or corporations are to terminate their contracts and come home. Should I tell them why? Tell them that the galaxy is about to learn the difference between human civilization and human warfare. Tell them that the Kitharans wanted to see what happens when humans stop being merciful. Across human space, the message went out. Trade ships turned around and headed home. Human diplomats left alien worlds. Human workers abandoned their jobs on alien space stations. Human mercenaries broke their contracts and disappeared. The galaxy watched this happen and did not understand what it meant. They thought humans were just upset and needed time to grieve. They did not realize they were watching a species prepare for total war. Captain Zektar of the Andromen Alliance was very good at his job. For 20 years, he had gathered intelligence about different species' military capabilities. He knew the size of every fleet, the power of every weapon, and the strategy of every military force in the galaxy. But as he watched human ships returning to Earth, he began to feel worried. Something was wrong with what he was seeing. Computer, show me all known information about human military forces. Zektar said to his ship's artificial intelligence. The holographic display showed the standard information that every intelligence agency in the galaxy had collected. Humans had about 3,000 ships in their Sol Defense Fleet. Their largest vessels were called dreadnoughts and were about 2 kilometers long. Their weapons were plasma cannons and missile systems, nothing special compared to other military forces. Computer, analyze the human ships returning to Earth. Compare them to our known database. The computer worked for several minutes. When it finished, Zektar felt his blood turn cold. Captain, I am detecting an anomaly. The ships returning to human space do not match our records. The vessels we classified as human dreadnoughts appear to be much smaller than the ships now approaching Earth. Zektar leaned forward. What do you mean? Our intelligence files show human dreadnoughts as the largest ships in their fleet. However, I am now detecting vessels near Earth that are over 50 times larger than what we thought were their biggest ships. That is impossible. We would have known about ships that large. Captain, I am also detecting construction activity in the outer regions of the Sol system. There appear to be shipyards and manufacturing facilities in locations where we thought there was only empty space. Zektar ordered his ship to move closer to the edge of human space. What he saw there would haunt his dreams for the rest of his life, hidden in the dark space between stars. Massive structures were awakening. Ships that were more like mobile space stations began moving toward Earth. Some were the size of small moons. Others were so large that they had their own gravitational fields. Computer, scan those vessels. What are their capabilities? Captain, I cannot complete a full scan. The ship's armor is blocking most of our sensors. However, I am detecting energy signatures that are far beyond anything in our database. Some of these vessels appear to have weapons that could destroy entire planets. Zektar immediately sent an emergency message to Andromedan Command. Within hours, intelligence agencies across the galaxy were trying to understand What they were seeing, the truth was more shocking than anyone could have imagined. For 300 years, humans had been operating under artificial limitations. When they first met other alien species, they had carefully studied how galactic civilization worked. They learned about the rules of war, the limits on weapons, and the expectations for military conflict. Then they had hidden their real capabilities. The ships that aliens thought were human warships were actually just patrol vessels. The advanced weapons that humans used in conflicts were considered basic equipment by human military standards. Even the sole defense fleet that everyone knew about was just a small part of human military power. Yuki Tanaka, the head of human strategic planning, sat in a deep underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps. She was looking at files that very few humans had ever seen. Director, the Galactic Assembly is requesting information about our military response to the Kytheran attack, her assistant said. Tell them we will respond appropriately. Dr. Tanaka replied without looking up from her files. Ma'am, they are specifically asking about the large ships that alien intelligence agencies are detecting near Earth. Dr. Tanaka finally looked up. What large ships? The Titan-class vessels, ma'am. Alien sensors have detected them, leaving their hidden positions. Ah, Dr. Tanaka smiled slightly. Tell the aliens that those are not warships. Those are construction vessels. Our assistant looked confused. Construction vessels? Yes, the Stellar Engineering Corps uses them to build things. They're going to build something very special for the Kytherans. On the other side of the galaxy, Sub-Commander Veltar was meeting with the Kytheran High Command. The insect-like leaders of the hegemony sat in their dark council chamber, discussing the human response to their hospital attack. The humans are gathering their ships near Earth, Veltar reported. Our intelligence suggests they are preparing for a military response. War leader Thekmar clicked his mandibles in amusement. How many ships do they have? 3,000? 4,000? Our forces number in the tens of thousands. The exact number is unclear, war leader. Human ships are different than we expected. Different how? They are much larger than our previous intelligence indicated. Some appear to be the size of space stations. Thekmar waved his forearms dismissively. Size means nothing without proper weapons. Have you detected any new human weapon technologies? Veltar hesitated. War leader, human technology is difficult to understand. Their ships do not use weapon systems like ours. Instead, they appear to have equipment for stellar engineering. Stellar engineering? What does that mean? They have tools for manipulating stars, planets, and space itself. We do not understand how or why they would build such things. Thekmar laughed, a horrible clicking sound. The humans build tools instead of weapons. This proves our point about their weakness. When we defeated their hospital, we showed the galaxy that human mercy makes them vulnerable. Now, they respond with construction equipment instead of military force. But Veltar was reading more intelligence reports, and what he saw made his compound eyes widen with fear. War leader, he said quietly, I think we may have misunderstood something important. What? According to our deep space sensors, the humans are not just gathering ships near Earth. They are also activating facilities throughout their solar system. Hidden bases on asteroids, manufacturing centers in the gas giant clouds, and what appears to be a massive industrial complex in the space between Uranus and Neptune. So, more construction facilities. More proof of their weakness. Veltar looked at the data again. His voice became very small. War leader, the energy output from these facilities is enormous. The manufacturing complex alone is producing more power than our entire homeworld. How is that possible? I think the humans have been hiding their true capabilities from us. All of us. The ships we thought were their most powerful vessels appeared to have been their smallest ones. The weapons we thought were their most advanced appeared to have been their most basic ones. Dagmar's laughter stopped. Explain. War leader, what if the humans have been pretending to be weaker than they really are? What if they have been following our rules of war not because they had to, but because they chose to? What if attacking their hospital was not showing them our strength, but showing them that their mercy was wasted? For the first time in his life, war leader Dagmar felt afraid. Back on Earth, Admiral Vasquez stood in the command center of the hidden military facility called Deep Winter. Around her, officers were activating systems that had been waiting in silence for centuries. The Admiral, one of her captains, said, "The Stellar Engineering Corps reports ready for deployment. The Titan-class vessels have reached their staging areas." Excellent. What is the status of Project Damocles? All stellar manipulation equipment is online and calibrated. We can begin reconfiguring star systems on your order. Admiral Vasquez nodded. And the Galaxy-class dreadnoughts? Still in deep storage, ma'am. Do you want us to wake them up too? No. The Titans will be sufficient for this mission. Save the Galaxy-class ships for if we encounter something truly dangerous. The captain looked confused. Mom, the Galaxy-class ships are larger than anything the aliens have ever built. What could be more dangerous than the Kithrans? Admiral Vasquez looked at the star charts showing Kithran space. Captain, the Kithrans are not dangerous. They are just bullies who picked the wrong target. What would be truly dangerous would be if we discovered that there are other threats out there. Threats that we have been preparing for since we first looked at the night sky and wondered why we seemed to be alone in the universe. Ma'am, the galaxy is about to learn something important, Captain. Humans did not join galactic civilization because we needed their protection. We joined because we hoped that having friends would mean we would never need to use our real weapons. Admiral Vasquez turned to the main communication station. Open a channel to Kithran space. It is time to introduce them to human engineering. The human response began with a simple message broadcast across all galactic communication networks. Admiral Elena Vasquez appeared on every screen, her voice calm and clear. This is Admiral Vasquez of the United Earth Defense Command. 3 days ago, the Kithran hegemony attacked a medical facility and murdered innocent patients and healers. They broadcast this attack to show the galaxy what happens to those who show mercy. The Admiral paused, her eyes cold as space itself. The Kithrans wanted to teach the galaxy about strength and weakness. Today, we will continue that lesson. The first target was the Kithran border system of Velanash. It was a military outpost that guarded one of the main routes into Kithran space. The system had a small star, 2 rocky planets, and a large space station that served as a supply depot. The Kithran defenders watched their sensors in confusion as a single human ship approached their system. The vessel was enormous, larger than any ship they had ever seen. It was dark gray and covered in strange equipment that they could not identify. Unknown human vessel. The Kithran station commander broadcast, "You are entering restricted military space. Turn back immediately, or we will open fire." The human ship did not respond. Instead, it moved toward the system's star. Commander Jektal, the leader of the Velanash Defense Force, ordered his ships to attack. 12 Kithran warships fired everything they had at the human vessel. Plasma cannons, missile swarms, and energy beams struck the human ship's hull. Nothing happened. The human ship's shields absorbed the attacks like raindrops hitting a lake. What is that thing made of? Jektal's weapons officer asked. Before anyone could answer, the human ship reached the star. Strange machines extended from its hull and touched the star's surface. Immediately, the star began to change. The star's light started to flicker and pulse in an unnatural rhythm. Solar wind that normally flowed smoothly in all directions began to spiral and twist. Within hours, the magnetic field around the star was completely different. Dr. James Morton, the chief of human stellar engineering, spoke to his team aboard the massive construction vessel. "Begin hyperspace disruption protocol," he said calmly. "I want a 50 light-year dead zone around this system." His engineers worked with practiced efficiency. The modified star began sending out waves of energy that made hyperspace travel impossible in a huge area around it. Any ship trying to enter or leave hyperspace near the system would be torn apart by gravitational distortions. "Sir," one of the engineers said, "the Kitharan ships in this system are now trapped. They cannot escape to hyperspace." "Excellent. Now begin Phase 2. Move the planets." Commander Jacques Tal watched in horror as human machines approached the 2 rocky planets in his system. The machines were the size of small moons and covered in equipment he did not understand. They attached themselves to the planets like metallic parasites. "What are they doing?" his science officer asked. I think they are moving our planets." It seemed impossible, but that was exactly what was happening. Using gravitational manipulation technology that alien science could barely understand, the humans began to change the orbit of both planets. Slowly but steadily, the worlds moved away from their star and toward each other. Within days, the 2 planets were in an unstable orbit that would cause them to collide within a few months. The Kitharan colonies on both worlds had to be evacuated immediately. "This is impossible," Jacques Tal broadcast to Kitharan High Command. "The humans are not fighting us. They are redesigning our entire star system." Dr. Morton's voice came through on all frequencies in the system. His tone was calm and educational, like a teacher explaining a lesson to students. "Attention, Kitharan forces. You wanted to demonstrate that mercy is weakness. We are now demonstrating what happens when humans stop being merciful. You have violated every law of civilized warfare." Jacques Tal shouted back. "We are not at war," Dr. Morton replied. "War implies that both sides have a chance to win. What is happening here is an engineering project. We are solving the problem that your species represents." The destruction of Valanash took only 1 week. By the time the human ship left, the system was completely unusable. Ships could not enter or leave hyperspace anywhere near it. The planets were on collision courses. The star itself had been modified to make the system a navigation hazard for the next 1,000 years, but the humans were just getting started. The second target was the industrial world of Krathmar. It was one of the hegemony's most important manufacturing centers, where they built ships and weapons for their military. This time, 3 human ships arrived. They were even larger than the first one, and they brought different equipment. Instead of modifying the star, they focused on the planet itself. "Beginning planetary reorganization," announced Captain Lisa Park from the lead ship. Estimated completion time, 4 days. The humans did not attack the planet's surface. Instead, they used gravitational manipulation to change how the planet rotated. They made the planet spin faster and faster until the increased centrifugal force began to tear apart the continents, but they did it slowly and carefully. They gave the Kitharan population time to evacuate before each area became uninhabitable. The humans were not trying to commit genocide. They were making the planet useless as an industrial center while saving as many lives as possible. "This is insane," Subcommander Veltar reported to his superiors. "The humans are taking apart our planets piece by piece. But they are also somehow managing to evacuate most of our people before each area is destroyed." War leader Thekmar was no longer laughing. How is that possible? They seem to be able to predict exactly when and where each part of the planet will become dangerous. They broadcast evacuation warnings in our own language. They even sent transport ships to help with the evacuation. They are helping our people escape while they destroy our worlds? Yes, sir. It is as if they want to make our planets uninhabitable without killing our population. The pattern continued across Kitharan space. One by one, human ships arrived at Kitharan systems and began reconstruction projects. They modified stars to create hyperspace dead zones. They moved planets into unstable orbits. They redirected asteroid belts to create permanent navigation hazards, but they did all of this while somehow minimizing casualties. Human ships would arrive with detailed evacuation plans. They would broadcast warnings in perfect Kitharan language. They would even provide transportation to help Kitharan civilians escape before their worlds became uninhabitable. It was not conquest. It was not even traditional warfare. It was systematic dismantling of the Kitharans. Hegemony's ability to exist as a spacefaring civilization. The most shocking example was the Kitharan homeworld of Kithar Prime, when the massive human fleet arrived in the system. Every Kitharan in the galaxy expected to see their ancestral home destroyed. Instead, the humans did something far more terrifying. They moved it using technology that seemed like magic to alien observers. The human ships slowly pushed the planet out of its natural orbit. They moved it to a new position that was slightly farther from its star. The change was small, only a few million kilometers, but it was enough to begin a slow climate change that would make the planet uninhabitable within decades. Attention Kitharan High Command. Admiral Vasquez broadcast to the planet. Your world is not being destroyed. It is being relocated. Your species has approximately 30 years to find a new home before this planet becomes too cold to support your civilization. You are monsters. Dekmar screamed back. No, Admiral Vasquez replied calmly. We are engineers. Monsters would have destroyed your planet and everyone on it. Engineers solve problems. The problem is that your species has proven it cannot be trusted with the ability to wage interstellar war. We are solving that problem. How? By taking away our worlds? By taking away your ability to threaten other species. Your people will survive, but your empire will not. You will become refugees scattered across the galaxy. Other species will decide whether to help you or not based on how you behave from now on. Dekmar realized with growing horror what the humans were actually doing. They were not destroying the Kitharan hegemony through military victory. They were making it impossible for the hegemony to continue existing. Every Kitharan world was being made uninhabitable, but slowly enough that the population could escape. Every Kitharan star system was being turned into a navigation hazard that would prevent space travel for centuries. The Kitharans would survive as a species, but they would never again be able to threaten anyone. It was mercy and punishment combined in the most terrifying way possible. You are scattering us across the galaxy like refugees, Dekmar said quietly. Yes, Admiral Vasquez agreed. And every species you encounter will remember that you chose to murder healers and patients in a medical facility. They will decide for themselves whether refugee Kitharans deserve their help or not. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the human engineering projects continued. Within 80 months, the Kitharan hegemony ceased to exist as a political entity. Their military was stranded on scattered worlds with no way to travel between star systems. Their government was powerless to protect or unite their people, but the humans were not finished. They had one more lesson to teach the galaxy. 2 years after the destruction of Mercy General Hospital, the galaxy was a very different place. The Kitharan hegemony no longer existed. Their people were scattered across hundreds of worlds, living as refugees and trying to rebuild their lives under alien skies. But the galaxy's shock was not about what had happened to the Kitharans. It was about what humanity had done to everyone else. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood once again in the Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly. But this time, the mood was very different. The representatives of hundreds of species sat in nervous silence, waiting to hear what the human had to say. Fellow delegates, Webb began, his voice as calm as ever. It has been 2 years since the Kytheran attack on our medical facility. I wanted to give you an update on the situation. The Andromedan representative, Ambassador Kextall, shifted nervously in his seat. Ambassador Webb, we appreciate the briefing. The Andromedan Alliance has always condemned the Kytheran attack. We hope that now we can return to normal diplomatic relations. Webb smiled that same cold smile he had used 2 years before. Ambassador Kextall, I am curious about something. When the Kytherans attacked our hospital, what did the Andromedan Alliance do to help? Kextall's blue skin turned a paler shade. Well, we offered diplomatic support. We called for economic sanctions. We condemned the attack in the strongest possible terms. But you did not actually do anything to stop them. Ambassador Webb, we followed proper diplomatic procedures. We believed that measured responses and international pressure would do nothing, Webb finished. Which is exactly what happened. While you held meetings and wrote strongly worded letters, the Kytherans continued to plan attacks on other medical facilities. Did you know that they had identified 17 more hospitals to target? The hall erupted in shocked whispers. This was the first time anyone had heard about additional planned attacks. Webb continued. We found their target lists when we were relocating their homeworld. Andromedan hospitals, Zephyrian medical stations, even Centauri emergency facilities. The Kytherans planned to systematically destroy every major medical facility in this sector of the galaxy. Ambassador Kextall looked sick. We had no idea. Of course you did not. Because your intelligence agencies focus on trade agreements and mining rights. You do not look for real threats because you assume someone else will handle them. Webb walked to the center of the hall. This brings me to an important announcement. The United Earth government has completed its analysis of galactic security. We have concluded that the current system does not work. What do you mean? Asked the representative from the Tau Ceti Republic. I mean that for 300 years, every species in this galaxy has assumed that civilized behavior was universal. You created laws of war that assumed everyone would follow them. You built international institutions that assumed everyone would respect them. You developed diplomatic solutions that assumed everyone would participate in good faith. Webb paused and looked around the room. The Kytherans proved that these assumptions were wrong. They showed that some species only understand strength. More importantly, they showed that your system has no way to deal with species that reject civilization entirely. The Centauri Prime Delegate stood up. Ambassador Webb, what are you suggesting? That we abandon diplomacy and return to military solutions? No, Ambassador Chung. I am suggesting that you understand the new reality. Humanity has taken responsibility for galactic security. The hall exploded in angry voices. Representatives from dozens of species began shouting at once. You cannot make that decision unilaterally. The Galactic Assembly does not recognize human authority over. This is exactly the kind of imperial behavior that Webb waited quietly for the noise to die down. When the hall was silent again, he spoke. The decision has already been made. It was made when the first doctor was murdered in that hospital. It was made when you all chose to respond with words instead of action. It was made when you proved that your system cannot protect the innocent. He touched a control on his wrist communicator. Immediately, holographic displays appeared above every seat in the assembly hall. The displays showed star charts of the entire galaxy. These charts show the current status of galactic security. As you can see, there are now certain areas marked in red. The delegates stared in horror at what they were seeing. Dozens of star systems across the galaxy were marked with red warning symbols. The red zones, Webb explained, are systems that have been modified by human stellar engineering. Some are former Kytheran systems that are now navigation hazards. Others are systems that our analysis identified as potential security threats. Ambassador Kexdal's voice was barely a whisper. What kind of threats? Pirate bases that your governments ignored. Illegal weapons manufacturing facilities that you knew about but did nothing to stop. Slave trading operations that you classified as internal affairs of other species. Webb touched his communicator again. The star chart zoomed in to show specific systems. For example, the Rigel cartel had been operating slave mines in the Outer Veil for over 50 years. Your intelligence agencies all knew about it. But since the slaves were from primitive species that were not members of the Galactic Assembly, you decided it was not your problem. The cartel no longer exists. Their star systems are now gravity wells that will trap any ship that tries to use them for illegal activities. The slaves have been evacuated to worlds where they can live in freedom. The Zephyrian delegate raised a shaking hand. Ambassador Webb, you are describing the systematic reorganization of galactic civilization. You cannot simply edit the galaxy to match your preferences. Webb looked at her with something that might have been sympathy. Ambassador Clara, your own species was on the Kytheran target list. Your children's hospital on New Zephyr was scheduled to be attacked within 6 months. Would you prefer that we had continued to respect diplomatic procedures while your healers were murdered? Clara had no answer. Webb continued. The new system is simple. Medical facilities marked with red crosses are completely neutral territory. Any species that threatens them will face existential consequences. Any government that fails to protect them will be classified as a security risk. Humanitarian operations are now under human protection. Refugee camps, disaster relief efforts, medical missions. Any attack on these will result in immediate stellar engineering responses. Species that engage in slavery, genocide, or attacks on civilians will find their star systems reorganized to prevent further crimes. The hall was completely silent now. Everyone understood what they were hearing. Humanity had unilaterally declared itself the galaxy's police force, and they had the technology to enforce their decisions. Ambassador Chun from Centauri Prime found her voice. And if we refuse to accept this new system? Webb's answer was matter-of-fact. Then you will discover what happens to species that refuse to accept it. We hope that will not be necessary. This is tyranny, someone shouted from the back of the hall. No, Webb replied calmly. Tyranny is when someone takes power for their own benefit. We are taking responsibility for protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The same responsibility that all of you refuse to accept. He walked toward the exit of the Great Hall. The Galactic Assembly is welcome to continue meeting. You are welcome to continue discussing trade agreements and cultural exchanges. But security matters are no longer your responsibility. You will find that this new system works much better than the old one. Pirates will discover that their base systems have become uninhabitable. Warlords will find that their supply routes have been disrupted by gravitational anomalies. Slavers will wake up to find that their worlds have been relocated to systems where their victims can easily escape. Webb paused at the doorway. Oh, and one more thing. The rebuilt Mercy General Hospital station is now operational. It is located in the same position as the original station, and it provides the same medical services to all species. The station is protected by a permanent defense fleet. The ships are not marked with any national symbols, and their crews include volunteers from across human space. Any species that approaches the station with hostile intent will discover that human mercy and human wrath are two sides of the same coin. As Webb left the assembly hall, His final words echoed in the silence. Dr. Sarah Chang's dream of universal medical care will continue. The galaxy is welcome to benefit from it, but it will no longer be allowed to threaten it. 3 months later, Dr. Maria Santos walked through the corridors of the new Mercy General Hospital station. The facility was even larger and better equipped than the original. Patients from across the galaxy came here for treatment, just as they had before. But everything was different now outside the medical bays. Strange ships patrolled the space around the station. They were not human designs that anyone recognized. Some looked like they had been built from crystallized space-time itself. Others seemed to exist partially outside normal reality DR. Santos stopped at the pediatric ward and smiled at a young Kithran refugee who was being treated for malnutrition. The child's name was Zekelin, and he had been brought to the station by other refugees after his family died in the chaos following the relocation of Kithar Prime. "How are you feeling today, Zekelin?" Dr. Santos asked gently.